Hey there, fellow survivors of the Reagan era. Remember when TV families actually made sense? When characters didn't just vanish into thin air like they were abducted by aliens? Well, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the bizarre world of TV characters who disappeared faster than your allowance at the arcade. I'm talking about kids who went upstairs and never came back down, boyfriends who vanished without so much as a breakup scene, and entire family members who just poof, gone. These disappearances were so common, they literally named a syndrome after one of them. And trust me, this explains a lot about why we Gen Xers have trust issues. So grab your Tab Cola and hit that subscribe button, because we're about to explore 10 TV characters who pulled the ultimate vanishing act. Chuck Cunningham, Happy Days. Let's start with the granddaddy of all TV disappearances, Chuck Cunningham from Happy Days. This guy's so legendary that the entire phenomenon is named after him, Chuck Cunningham Syndrome. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, didn't Happy Days start in the 70s? Yeah, but Chuck set the template for every mysterious vanishing act that followed, so he earned his spot here. Chuck was Richie's basketball-playing older brother, the kind of clean-cut All-American kid that made the 50s look perfect. He was there for the first 2 seasons, bouncing that basketball and being generically older brother-ish. Then suddenly, by season 3, the Cunninghams apparently decided they only needed 2 kids. Chuck just vanished. No explanation, no mention, no "Chuck's away at college." He went upstairs one day and never came back down. Behind the scenes, the writing was literally on the wall. The first actor, Gavin O'Harrelhe, basically said, "I didn't sign up to grunt and bounce a basketball once every 2 weeks," and bailed after 1 season. They brought in Randolph Roberts, but by then the Fonz was stealing every scene with his leather jacket and hey! The producers figured nobody would notice if they just quietly deleted Chuck from the family. And honestly, in the pre-internet era, they were mostly right. Think about it. This was supposed to be the wholesome 1950s, where family values mattered. Yet, here's a family that just forgot their oldest son existed. And if this happened today, there'd be a Netflix documentary about it called Where's Chuck? And conspiracy theorists would be analyzing every episode for clues. But Chuck's disappearance became the gold standard for TV amnesia. And trust me, he was just getting started. 7, Married with Children. Speaking of characters nobody asked for, let's talk about 7 from Married with Children. In what can only be described as a moment of network insanity, Fox decided that what their R-rated, crude, unapologetically dysfunctional sitcom really needed was a cute kid. Because nothing says edgy family comedy like adding a wide-eyed innocent to the mix, right? 7 showed up in season 7. Get it? 7 in season 7. The subtlety was about as thick as Al Bundy's hairline. He was supposedly dropped off by Peggy's cousins and immediately overstayed his welcome, both on and off screen. The poor kid's wide-eyed innocence clashed so hard with the show's crude humor that you could practically hear the audience cringing through their TV sets. Fans rejected 7 faster than Al rejected the idea of getting a real job. Hate mail poured in. Ratings slipped, and Fox executives probably started updating their resumes. So, what'd they do? They pulled the ultimate Married with Children move. They made 7 disappear, and then made fun of it. After just a few episodes, 7 vanished without explanation. But here's where it gets brilliant. Later in the season, his face appeared on a milk carton marked "missing" in the background of a scene. This might be the only time a show actually acknowledged a character's mysterious disappearance with a joke about child endangerment. It was perfectly twisted and perfectly Married with Children. 7's exit became legendary for all the wrong reasons, proven that even the most outrageous shows have limits. Sometimes less family really is more. Wait until you hear about the family that made the Bundys look responsible. No, ma'am. Judy Winslow, Family Matters. Okay, this one is truly unforgivable. We need to talk about Judy Winslow from Family Matters, because the Winslow family wins the award for worst TV parents ever. They literally forgot their own daughter existed. Judy was there from day one. The adorable youngest Winslow, played by Jamie Foxworth. She was the sweet little sister. Part of what was supposed to be a wholesome family sitcom spun off from Perfect Strangers. Then something happened that nobody saw coming. Steve Urkel showed up.
BG?
Well, big guy, of course. Hey, are you losing weight?
A little.
Turn sideways. Uh-oh. Well, where'd you go?
Showed up. What started as a one-episode guest spot for this suspender-wearing, high-pitched nerd turned into a pop culture phenomenon. Suddenly, Family Matters wasn't about the Winslow family anymore. It was the Steve Urkel Show. And as the show morphed from family sitcom into sci-fi comedy hour, complete with clones, time machines, and transformation chambers, poor Judy became expendable. Her final appearance was in a season 4 episode called Mama's Wedding, where she played the flower girl. After that, gone. Not at boarding school, not staying with relatives, not even Judy's upstairs doing homework. The family just forgot she existed. No birthdays, no Christmas presents, no, hey, I wonder how our youngest daughter's doing. Nothing. Can you imagine if Modern Family had just made Luke disappear after season 4 and never mentioned him again? Twitter would have burned down the internet. But back in the early 90s, networks could just erase characters like they were correcting a typo. The show's creators later blamed budget cuts. But let's be honest, they were too busy writing Urkel's latest wacky invention to remember they had a perfectly good character sitting right there. Poor Judy went from beloved family member to television's most forgotten child. But at least Judy's disappearance had a reason, unlike our next vanishing act. Richie Crawford, Family Matters. Family Matters strikes again. Apparently, they had a talent for making family members disappear, because Richie Crawford also vanished into thin air. This one's even weirder, because Richie wasn't even a main family member. He was Rachel's son, and Rachel had already left the show years earlier. Richie was this precocious little kid with perfect comedic timing, often serving as the ideal foil for Steve Urkel's antics. Some of the show's best moments came from their interactions. This kid had comedic chops that actors twice his age would envy. When his mom Rachel left to star in her own sitcom around 1993, Richie stayed behind with the Winslows. Made sense, right? Wrong. By season 9, Richie's screen time had dramatically decreased. His final appearance came in the Christmas episode, Deck the Mall. And then he vanished quicker than Santa on December 26th. No farewell, no explanation, just gone. The Winslows never mentioned him again, despite him supposedly still living in the house. Think about it. A show that started as a family sitcom had somehow morphed into a sci-fi comedy where Steve Urkel was building time machines and creating clones of himself. In that context, a normal kid like Richie didn't fit the increasingly bizarre storylines. When your shows moved from family dinner conversations to mad scientists invent teleportation device, a regular kid becomes dead weight. Brighton James, who played Richie, bounced back just fine. He landed a role on The Young and the Restless in 2004 and is still there today, earning multiple Emmy nominations. Turns out, disappearing from the Winslow household was the best career move he could have made. But if you think Family Matters was bad at keeping track of characters, wait until you hear about our next vanishing act. Martin Kendall, The Cosby Show. The Huxtables might have been America's favorite TV family, but they sure had a strange way of dealing with in-laws. Martin Kendall showed up in season 6 as Denise's surprise husband, complete with a daughter, a military background, and plenty of questions from Cliff and Claire about this sudden addition to the family. Martin was actually a solid addition to the show. Joseph Phillips brought a steady, supportive presence that earned him the family's respect. He wasn't just comedy relief or a plot device. He felt like a real person who genuinely cared about Denise and fit into the Huxtable dynamic. He appeared regularly throughout seasons 6 through 8, becoming part of the furniture. Then, just as quietly as he arrived, Martin disappeared. His first appearance came in November 1991 in an episode called Olivia Comes Out of the Closet. After that, gone. The explanation was that Martin was stationed in Singapore and Denise went with him, but Olivia stayed with the Huxtables. You know, one of those totally normal arrangements where a child's parents live halfway around the world and nobody seems concerned about it. What's even stranger is that in the series finale, we learn through a phone call that Denise is pregnant with Martin's child. Neither character actually appears on screen. Talk about long-distance relationships. This was during NBC's reign as the king of Thursday night television must-see TV, they called it. With ratings that strong, they apparently figured viewers wouldn't notice or care about little things like entire characters disappearing. Martin Kendall remains one of primetime's strangest disappearances. A character who stepped into America's living rooms, then slipped out the back door with no goodbye. Speaking of characters who vanished without explanation, our next disappearance involved some serious behind-the-scenes drama. And that's part 1 of our journey through TV's most mysterious disappearances. We've covered Chuck Cunningham's legendary vanishing act, the Winslow family's bizarre habit of forgetting their own children, and Martin Kendall's one-way trip to Singapore. These 5 characters prove that the 80s and 90s were a wild time for television continuity. But trust me, we're just getting started. In part 2, we'll dive into even more baffling disappearances, including characters who vanished from action shows, sitcoms, and even the Golden Girls. Plus, we'll explore why these mysterious exits became so common and what they reveal about how television worked back in the day. Drop a comment telling us which of these 5 appearances shocked you the most. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Part 2's coming soon, and you won't want to miss the rest of these vanishing acts that left us all with trust issues. Until next time, keep wondering where these characters really went.